So here we go again with what could be a plot in a sci-fi thriller, but is reality.
Researchers in the US have for the first time used artificial intelligence to design new viruses.
It's been hailed as a very significant turning point.
What could possibly go wrong?
There's also concern that the technology could create new and yet unheard of bioweapons.
It does sound like something from a sci-fi movie, but this is real. A US team have used artificial intelligence to design completely new viruses. Well, coming up, we'll assess what it means, including questions it raises about safety and biosecurity. First, what exactly did the researchers actually do?
AI has been used to design simple structures like antibiotics before.
But now, for the first time, AI has designed the entire genetic code, the whole genome of viruses that aren't found in nature.
Scientists took these AI designs and attempted to make them in a lab.
It works a bit like ChatGPT, but instead of predicting sequences of words, these AI models predict the language of life.
And instead of being trained on books and websites, these AI models were trained on genetic codes from viruses, bacteria, plants, and people.
They were then refined to create a type of virus known as a bacterial phage, which infect only specific species of bacteria.
16 virus designs were a success and were able to kill bacteria in tests.
So that's what the US team managed to do, but how big a deal is it? Our health correspondent James Gallagher assesses the significance of the research.
This is a real step up in the power of what AI has been able to do in this kind of field. So we've already seen generative artificial intelligence tools being used to come up with designs for new antibiotics and for new vaccines, whereas this is looking at the whole genetic code, the entire genome of viruses, generating those in a computer. And the way that was done is that scientists were trying to develop new types of a virus called phage, and what they do is they infect bacteria so that there's no risk. You don't need to be terrified. There's no risk to human beings. They infect bacteria. And what they did was they got the AI to generate the genetic code, suggested genetic codes. Then the scientists picked 300 that they thought were the most promising, tested those in the laboratory. So they actually then made those viruses as designed by the AI. And they found that 16 of those were able to fully function in the laboratory. So they were infecting bacteria, they were replicating inside those bacteria, and that's the first time this has been done.
Well, the breakthrough has been labelled a very significant turning point in science that could unlock a new era for treating disease. But experts have also warned AI-designed viruses raise urgent safety and security concerns. Well, let's start with the benefit. Here's Dr. Simon Clark, a microbiologist from the University of Reading.
So some people have suggested that you could use these types of viruses which attack bacteria to wipe out, to kill bacteria that are causing infections that are resistant to antibiotics. So it's potentially a novel strategy for dealing with antibiotic resistance. There are all sorts of other problems around that. One of which is that bacteria become resistant to the viruses as well, not just the antibiotics. So by generating new versions of virus, you can get around that resistance. I have to say, when I read this, I thought, yeah, really, you're actually just hanging this research, this piece of study on that hook. Really, they've done this, I think, because they could. This is an important proof of principle. And as AI gets more capable, you might expect it to be able to tailor or engineer other forms of life.
So what about the risks? Well, concerns have already been raised that the same technology could be used maliciously to create new diseases. Here's Simon Clark again.
This study is not a risk to human health. It's important to stress that. But it does show that, in theory, it is possible to generate synthetic forms of life, forms of viruses which don't exist in nature, and therefore that in itself could present a risk to human health. We should say that the AI models that are used here can't do that, but there's nothing to stop somebody coming up with a different AI model that potentially could. In this country, there are all sorts of protections and regulations for doing studies like this, and there would be in the United States too. But of course, if a bad actor was so minded to do something like that, then they wouldn't really worry themselves about the normal health and safety rules that control what people like me do.
Finally, let's look at the wider impact of artificial intelligence on healthcare. Here again is our health correspondent, James Gallagher.
The more practical tools are not like this. So this is kind of like the very cutting edge. No one's entirely sure where this technology is going to go. The grand vision of this kind of designing biology in a computer that could then be replicated in the real world, but isn't actually something that naturally exists in nature. That could open up new possibilities for new drug treatments, or these kinds of phage viruses that infect bacteria. Maybe those could be used to treat bacterial infections. But it's a little bit more mundane in terms of how AI at the moment is being used in most of healthcare. So it's things like transcribing doctor's notes and providing summaries to make those more time efficient. There's a lot of work going on at whether artificial intelligence tools can look at lots of scans, say mammograms as part of breast cancer screening, and see if they can be used to make the whole system more effective and more efficient. So it's a little bit more mundane than the kinds of very cutting edge science that we're talking about with this study in terms of where it's being rolled out at the moment.
And that's all you need to know about AI-generated viruses.